Firstly, what is Australian Rotary Health? It began in 1981 when a Rotarian from the Rotary Club of Mornington in Victoria proposed the establishment of a charitable fund to raise a minimum of $2 million for research into cot deaths. The research, initially funded by Rotary, led to over a 75% reduction in the incidence of cot deaths within Australia and worldwide, a remarkable achievement. And who says that research doesn't bring results? Over the years, we have financed many other projects to improve the health of Australians in virtually every field of health. However, as Joe has said, our main focus since 2000 has been on mental health. Australian Rotary Health has become one of the largest non-government health research funds in Australia and is now the largest non-government supporter of mental health research. Our current main emphasis is on the mental health for young Australians with an increasing focus on prevention. So what have we achieved? Australian Rotary Health was the first organisation to host public forums in mental health. These began in 1999 and more than 500 mental health forums such as this were held around Australia with an estimated audience of 50,000 people. Funds provided to the University of Melbourne enabled the introduction of the Mental Health First Aid Program. This program, the brainchild of Adjunct Professor Betty Kitchener of Deakin University, is now accepted around the world as the equivalent to first aid training, but for people with mental health problems. How do you handle someone who's having a panic attack or someone threatening suicide? This Australian program is now operating in over 20 countries worldwide. Funding from Australian Rotary Health helped Professor Vaughan Carr of the University of Newcastle set up the first schizophrenia bank in Australia as a basis for ongoing research into that subject. Also in this field, Dr. Elizabeth Scarr, an Australian Rotary Health postdoctoral fellow, made a breakthrough with her research when she actually found a biochemical marker in one group of people with schizophrenia, present in about 25% of patients. This is the first time a biochemical marker has been found for schizophrenia. Past funding to Professor Matthew Sanders at the University of Queensland helped establish the Stepping Stones Triple P parenting program. This came way before anyone heard of Super Nanny. Australian Rotary Health was one of the first organisations to provide funding in postnatal depression. It's now common practice in most states in Australia that new mums are tested for postnatal depression either before they leave hospital or during prenatal care. Associate Professor Felice Jacka from Deakin University was one of the first researchers in the world to show that eating fast food does increase the likelihood of developing depression, and this research is now being widely looked at around the world. The list goes on. In 2016, Australian Rotary Health is funding the following health initiatives: 16 research project grants in mental health of young Australians, 18 research PhD scholarships and postdoctoral fellowships in mental illness, a new initiative for us, 2 research PhD scholarships in post-traumatic stress disorder effects from war and from emergency services. We also fund 37 research PhD scholarships in a wide range of general health areas in association with the wishes of some of the funders of that research. In addition, we have 8 rural medical and nursing scholarships to encourage doctors and nurses to experience practice in the bush. And we also fund 75 Indigenous health scholarships. Over 20% of all Australian Indigenous health practitioners have been supported through Australian Rotary Health. In all, a total investment of $3.4 million this year into research and education in health. Each year, approximately 300 expressions of interest are received for funding. we can only fund around 5% of those applications due to insufficient funds, not because of the quality of the application. If we had the money, we'd fund most of them. Fundraising and donations are vital to our continued success. Donations to Australian Rotary Health are voluntary and tax deductible, and funds are distributed to every state in Australia through universities and hospitals. And every cent of every dollar donated for research through Australian Rotary Health is spent on research. Following our establishment 35 years ago, Australian Rotary Health has researched many areas of health, but as we've said, has focused on mental health alone since 1999-2000. We are often asked why we are continuing to fund research into mental disorders, particularly among young people, when there is so much need for research in other health areas. Actually, I'm pleased to confirm that the Board of Australian Rotary Health has just recently decided to continue to support research in mental health for the foreseeable future for the following reasons. Firstly, the rate of child and adolescent mental disorders is extremely high. Some facts. Approximately 14% of children in Australia, that's more than 500,000 4 to 17-year-olds, have a mental disorder at any point in time. Mental and substance use disorders are the leading cause of years lived with disability among children and young people up to 19 years of age. They rank higher than all other diseases, with respiratory conditions coming second amongst children and musculoskeletal conditions coming second amongst adolescents. Very importantly, approximately 50% of mental disorders across all age groups have their onset before the age of 14. The financial costs of childhood mental disorders for individual families and for education, social services and justice services are very high. Secondly, across all age groups in Australia, mental disorders are relatively common and have a major adverse effect on individuals and their families. Recent studies have shown that among all Australians in any year, approximately 1 in 5 individuals will suffer from some type of mental disorders, including anxiety disorders that we talked about today, 14%, depressive disorders, 6%, substance use disorders, 5%, any mental illness, 20%. And finally, a major concern is the increasing evidence that the prevalence of mental disorders in the community is not declining. We can't just continue to treat the problem. We must find ways to do better, including prevention, and Australian Rotary Health is committed to help achieve this goal. The topic of mental health is not one that attracts universal support. It's not one of those sexy, easily sold, populist health campaigns that the public readily contribute to and acknowledge. Australian Rotary Health, through its Rotary base across Australia, is well placed to build awareness and support for this vital area of health research for all Australians. If not Rotary, through Australian Rotary Health, who else? Australian Rotary Health is working right here in Australia to provide a better life for Australians and for the world. We can only continue successfully with the support of Rotary and the general community, and I'm confident that we'll continue to get this support. One way that you can help us is to help us lift the lid on mental illness in Australia by participating in our annual Australian Rotary Health Cat Day on Friday the 7th of October this year in Mental Health Week. This will be preceded by a major social media campaign leading up to Hat Day itself, a great opportunity to get the message out into the broader community and to support the great research work that we are undertaking on behalf of all Australians. Thank you very much.